The box sat in the middle of the cluttered living room like a quiet promise of chaos. It had been dragged in without ceremony, dropped between a stack of old magazines and a chair that had long ago given up pretending to be comfortable. Dust clung to its edges as though even the air was curious about what secrets it held. Dan leaned over it first, his large hands prying open the flaps with the casual confidence of a man who had opened far too many boxes in his life and expected very little from any of them. "Hey, this is a good box," he said, his voice carrying that familiar blend of surprise and amusement. Darlene stepped closer, arms folded, eyes sharp. "Good how?" Dan reached in and pulled out a prop that looked disturbingly realistic. A bloody foot dangled from a metal hook, swaying gently as if it had a personality of its own. "Well, we got a bloody foot on a hook," he said. Jackie peered over his shoulder and let out a delighted gasp. "And a dissected alien." She lifted another object from the box, turning it in the light. It was grotesque, detailed, and oddly impressive. For a moment, the three of them simply stared, caught somewhere between admiration and mild discomfort. "And some tax returns," Darlene added dryly, flipping through a stack of papers she had found buried beneath the theatrical horrors. "The IRS believes we have a home office." Jackie raised her eyebrows. "Ooh." The room seemed to pause, as though waiting for the next layer of absurdity to reveal itself. And then it did. Not from the box, but from the front door bursting open with the force of youthful triumph. Becky rushed in, breathless, glowing with excitement that filled the room more effectively than any decoration ever could. "Oh my God, you guys are not going to believe it," she said, barely containing herself. "I passed my driving test." There was a moment of silence. Not disbelief exactly, but something close to cautious acceptance. "Apparently, it is pass everyone day," Darlene said. "Come on. I am not that bad a driver," Becky protested. Dan let out a low chuckle. "I let you drive home, and you made a garbage truck swerve. You do not see something that big up on two wheels every day." Becky rolled her eyes. "It is like he was stopping at every house." "That is what they do," Dan replied calmly. "And then," Jackie added with a grin, "to finish up, you dragged a traffic cone most of the way home. Luckily that kid on the skateboard broke it loose," Darlene said. Becky sighed, throwing her hands in the air. "I need a drink." "Becky, where do you keep the hard stuff?" "In Becky," Darlene answered without missing a beat. Despite herself, Becky smiled. The humor was familiar, grounding. It was how this family navigated everything, from the ridiculous to the serious. "So, can I use Grandma's old car now?" she asked hopefully. Dan shook his head. "Yeah, but not to drive. You can sit in it and play the radio and go vroom vroom." Jackie added cheerfully, "Your imagination is the road to anywhere." Becky groaned but did not argue. She knew better than to expect an easy victory. Still, she was not one to give up. "Well, I really do need the job," she said, shifting gears. "And boy, do I love house cleaning," Darlene added, picking up a flyer Becky had dropped earlier. Jackie leaned in, curiosity piqued. "It is topless." There was a beat of silence before Dan nodded thoughtfully. "Well, that explains the $40 an hour." $40 an hour, Jackie repeated, eyes widening. "Do they take men? Because I will show off the girls for that." Darlene blinked. "I am going to have to pass, but I will give your number to my sister." "Thank you," Jackie said with complete sincerity. The room settled again into its natural rhythm, the kind built over years of shared space, shared struggles, and shared laughter. "All right," Becky said, clapping her hands together. "Since I have got you guys here together, I want to show you my costume." She stepped back and revealed herself fully, striking a pose that was equal parts confidence and theatrical flair. Disemboweled cheerleader. Dan squinted. "Look at you. all gory and enthusiastic. Becky grinned. I am bringing a friend to the party, and it looks like it is starting to be a thing. So I wanted to show off a little leg. A little intestine. He is a lucky guy? Jackie said. His name is Peter. Becky added. Darlene raised an eyebrow. Oh, Peter. Becky pointed at her immediately. I want your opinion. I do not want you teasing him. This family has a history of chasing off all the unstable men that I bring into my life. She continued. But Peter is different. Oh, Peter is different. Darlene echoed. I am serious. No teasing. Do not worry. Dan said. We will be good. Yeah. Darlene added. You have not dated anyone in like forever. We are not going to mess with whatever straggling animal you picked off the back of the herd. Becky stared at her, unimpressed. But there was affection beneath it. There always was. Outside, the evening began to deepen, carrying with it the promise of Halloween. Inside, the Connor house hummed with life, messy and imperfect, but undeniably warm. And as the night approached, filled with costumes, misunderstandings, small battles, and unexpected moments of connection, none of them realized that this ordinary day would quietly become one of those stories they would tell again and again, not because anything extraordinary happened, but because everything that mattered did. The box did not look important at first glance. It was just another worn container resting in a corner of a house that had seen too many years and too many stories to count. Yet somehow, like many things in that house, it carried a strange promise. Not of order or usefulness, but of something far more familiar to the people who lived there. It promised a little chaos, a little laughter, and perhaps a reminder that even the most ordinary objects could become the center of an unforgettable moment. Dan was the first to approach it, drawn not by curiosity alone, but by habit. He had spent a lifetime opening things that needed fixing, sorting, or understanding. Boxes, engines, relationships. Some made sense. Some did not. But all of them required a willingness to look inside. He crouched down and lifted the flaps, letting out a low whistle that echoed through the room. This is a good box, he said. Darlene glanced up from where she stood, leaning against the wall with her usual calm detachment. Good how? Dan reached in without hesitation and pulled out something that immediately shifted the atmosphere of the room from ordinary to absurd. A fake foot, disturbingly detailed, hung from a hook. It swayed gently, catching the light in a way that made it look far more realistic than anyone would have preferred. Well, we got a bloody foot on a hook, Dan announced. Jackie appeared beside him almost instantly, her curiosity always faster than her caution. And a dissected alien, she added, lifting another prop from the box as if she had just discovered treasure. The alien was no less unsettling, but Jackie held it with admiration, turning it around like a proud collector. Darlene stepped forward and sifted through the remaining contents. Beneath the theatrical horror, she found something far less imaginative but equally strange in its own way. And some tax returns, she said. The IRS believes we have a home office. Jackie raised her eyebrows with theatrical delight. Ooh. There was a pause. The kind that happens when reality and absurdity sit side by side, and neither quite knows what to say. Then the front door burst open. The energy shifted instantly. Becky rushed in, her excitement arriving before her words could catch up. You guys are not going to believe it, she said. I passed my driving test. Silence followed. Not disbelief exactly, but the kind of silence that suggested everyone was carefully choosing how to respond. Apparently, it is pass everyone day, Darlene said. Becky groaned. Come on. I am not that bad a driver. Dan straightened up slowly, his expression somewhere between amusement and concern. I let you drive home, and you made a garbage truck swerve, he said. You do not see something that big up on two wheels every day? Becky crossed her arms. It was stopping at every house. That is what they do, Dan replied calmly. Jackie could not resist adding more. And then to finish up, You dragged a traffic cone most of the way home. Luckily, that kid on the skateboard broke it loose. Darlene added. Becky sighed dramatically. I need a drink. She looked around as if the answer might be hidden somewhere in plain sight. Becky, where do you keep the hard stuff? In Becky, Darlene answered. The room softened with laughter. It always did. No matter how sharp the jokes were. They never truly cut. Not in this house. Becky took a breath and shifted her tone. So, can I use Grandma's old car now? Dan shook his head without hesitation. Yeah, but not to drive. You can sit in it and play the radio and go vroom vroom. Jackie said. Your imagination is the road to anywhere. Becky rolled her eyes. But there was a smile hiding underneath. She was used to this. Resistance was part of the process. It made the victory. When it came, feel earned. Well, I really do need the job, she said. Darlene picked up a flyer nearby. And boy, do I love house cleaning. Jackie leaned in. It is topless. Dan nodded thoughtfully. Well, that explains the $40 an hour. Jackie turned immediately. $40 an hour. Do they take men? Because I will show off the girls for that. Darlene blinked. I am going to have to pass. But I will give your number to my sister. Thank you, Jackie said, completely serious. The conversation flowed easily from one topic to another. Like it always did. Nothing stayed serious for long. And nothing stayed light for too long either. Becky clapped her hands together suddenly. All right. Since I have got you guys here together, I want to show you my costume. She stepped back and revealed herself with a flourish. Disemboweled cheerleader. Dan squinted. Look at you. Jackie nodded approvingly. Very committed. Becky smiled. Pleased. I am bringing a friend to the party. It is starting to be a thing. So I wanted to show off a little leg. A little intestine. He is a lucky guy? Jackie said. His name is Peter. Becky added. Darlene raised an eyebrow. Oh, Peter. Becky pointed at her immediately. I want your opinion. I do not want you teasing him. This family has a history of chasing off all the unstable men that I bring into my life. She continued. But Peter is different. Darlene nodded slowly. Peter is different. I am serious. No teasing. Do not worry. Dan said. We will be good. Darlene added. You have not dated anyone in a long time. We are not going to mess with whatever straggling animal you picked off the back of the herd. Becky stared at her, then shook her head. Some things never changed. And maybe that was the point. Because in a house like this, where nothing was perfect and everything was a little bit worn, the laughter was real. The love was real. And even the chaos had a way of bringing people closer instead of pulling them apart. Outside, the evening began to settle into that familiar quiet before a holiday night. Inside, the Connor family continued exactly as they always had. Talking, teasing, arguing, and somehow, always, staying together. And without realizing it, they were already in the middle of a story that would be told again and again. Not because it was extraordinary, but because it was theirs.